Thank you so much for having me on this panel today. Thoroughly enjoyed the presentation on the Estonian model around career services, and also getting a view into what we're doing in South Africa. I'm a huge fan of the Estonian case study, not just in terms of the particular case that we've seen today, but the entire ability of a country to move itself to such a level of efficiency that almost everything in the country, in every space within your life, there is an efficiency built into being able to do this through a digital platform. And this goes into not just into education and career services, but extends into healthcare, being able to apply for your documents, home affairs type documents online. It really is globally a paragon for us all to strive towards. And, you know, whilst there may be some loss in jobs by digitizing so much of the economy, there is an incredible efficiency that is built in the ease of doing business, in competitiveness, in helping young people to access opportunities. And we really need to think about looking and calculating and measuring the amount of positives in our economy and the chances that it opens up, because digitizing really does democratize things for many young people and people who are cut off in our economy. If we look at the Kenyan example of M-Pesa, digitization of money and being able to move money through digital channels was a huge democratizer, where financial services that allowed people to save and start businesses was only for people in the city who could access banks. So I think that's that's my first comment, given the presentation, which we're very grateful for, is there's a lot more to learn from Estonia than just this particular case study around career services. Then I'd like to talk to where we do need to be very cognizant of the differences between Estonia and South Africa. And the first big one was, you know, our speaker talked about the Estonian population at 1.3 million. South Africa's on close to 58 million population. And just our NEET number, not in employment, educational training number, is over 8 million. Whereas youth number of NEETs, whereas in Estonia, the entire population is 1.3. We're talking scale on a very different size. And then what has to be mentioned, I think, is GDP per capita, the economic profile of Estonia, where GDP per capita is $23,266, which is a 2018 figure. And South Africa's GDP per capita is 6,374. So, you know, almost 4 times the GDP per capita, and we also have the highest inequality in the world. So in Estonia, we have a homogeneous population, largely one language, everybody living with reasonably similar quality of life. Whereas in South Africa, access for many people to be able to get into the whole world of digital access is dependent on structural inequalities, whether they can afford devices, data, and the infrastructure delivering high-speed, high-quality data into their communities. So I think those are just some of the things that we need to work around. While the speaker was talking, I found a book. I just went to search for a book that I had read on called Randomistas. And to just play slight devil's advocate, they're huge values and positives to be derived from digital infrastructure, but it doesn't mean that the psychology of getting a job and career services can't also be delivered in an analog fashion. And there's a brilliant book that I read called Randomistas, which described a very simple program in Germany. And get this, it was printed leaflets, which is, you know, in the context of today sounds really medieval. But if you will allow me just to read this passage from Randomistas. Occasionally, inexpensive interventions have a significant payoff. In 2010 and 2011, the German government posted out a cheerful blue brochure to over 10,000 people who had recently lost their jobs. A cheerful blue brochure. The color matters. Bleiben Sie aktiv, translated, stay active. The leaflet urged unemployed people. It discussed how the German economy had been recovering after the financial crisis, reminded people that unemployment can be bad for your physical and mental health, and suggested different ways in which they might look for a job. The leaflet boosted employment rates among those who received it. Each leaflet cost less than €1 to print and post, which we could definitely do cheaper, but boosted earnings among the target group by an average €450. If you know another government intervention with a payoff rate of 450 to 1, the author writes, I want to hear about it. So I think there are methods that we can use that range from digital methods, and I'd like to share a few slides on what YES is doing on digital methods. So we certainly invest a huge amount of time and money in thinking about how we reach our youth across the country with digital, but that doesn't discount that if you understand behavioral economics and people's behaviors through simple analog methods like this German example, you can have a return of 450 to 1 on employment outcomes. This also brings me back to some work that JPAL did with Harambee in South Africa, where they looked at action plans that youth can create in order to search for a job. And if we could teach young people how to search for a job, I'm so glad to see from our speakers that a lot of work is being done on psychometrically profiling youth and assisting them through hopefully an action plan to understand what their skills and potentials are and how to connect them to platforms where jobs that are suited to their profiling will appear. Because I think a lot of people get muddled in the complexity of understanding their skills, capabilities, qualifications, and what sector that fits in and where you find opportunities in that sector. And then also how you can micro-credential your way into becoming better suited for a career where there may be potentials. And I'm going to try and experiment here. I hope the organizers don't mind, but I'm going to screen share a window. Can you guys see my presentation? I just wanted to show you what YES is doing. Can you see that presentation?
So nothing is up yet on my side.
Okay, let me do this. Let me just cancel and reshare. Please bear with me. You know, if I can show you the pictures, I think it makes a big difference. Can you see this now?
No, nothing on my side. Let me just check with the technical team if they are able to help you.
That should be now visible.
Yes, that is now visible.
Great. So what the Youth Employment Service does is we assist young people into a first work opportunity. We work on the demand side of the economy. So we work with the private sector to say, please help us open work opportunities for young people for a year so that we can break the cycle of young people saying, I can't get a job without experience, I can't get experience without a job. We've got, because of structural factors in our country and network factors, a lot of youth are just, even with huge potential, are never given that first opportunity to get into a job. We worked with the DTIC for a year that if companies invest in these youth jobs, we allow the company to get a level up on the BE scorecard. And so it's a win-win We're incentivizing companies to open new job opportunities, which is very difficult in the current climate, because nobody wants to increase their payroll during economic recession, and particularly given COVID. So it's important that you have some kind of incentive to get the private sector to create jobs. You know, you can have as many career services as you want, but the bottom line is an economy has to be generating jobs for young people to get into. Now, where are we at with YES today? This number is slightly dated. We've now created, with the private sector, 40,450 work opportunities for young people. That is about 2.2 billion in salaries into youth wallets. So this is what YES has been busy with for the past 21 months. And what is very exciting and I think relevant for today is we've spent a lot of time on our digital platform to connect youth into training and workplace skills understanding. And on our digital platform, which has been zero rated by Vodacom, we've already logged 6.3 million learning minutes on this platform. And what I was really happy to hear from the Estonian case was this idea around exposing young people to inspirational speakers. There's a big psychology to finding the right career and fit, which very importantly is about the youth mindset and being inspired to believe that this is possible for them. Which is why, in order to get these learning minutes, we thought very carefully about the content that we would put onto our smartphones, which are zero rated. So we want youth to learn how to transact digitally, how to access a digital address and put themselves on the digital map where they can access a whole new network of opportunities that might not be available in their local environment or through their network connections. So we encourage youth to build a digital CV, to get this out onto LinkedIn and various career platforms. And then we've built our content with a very strong behavioral economics and behavioral influence, where we use growth mindset tools, nudges, and reward systems to help youth to shift their mindset on what their capabilities are and what is available for them out in the workplace. And then, of course, access to this training material. So we've done some of what the Estonian case has been describing. We've used a lot of young people to create peer learning material, getting young people to understand themselves, lots of tips and tricks on putting a CV together, but also using video and entertaining video to get young people to understand what this is about. We've interviewed HR leaders inside of the private sector, and we've got them on video talking to young people about these tips and tricks on what they should put into a CV, what they look for, when do they just push a CV aside. And some of that material is not just available on our smartphone, but on the For Youth portal on our website. And I have a slide on some of these tips and tricks that you can find on the For Youth tab on the YES website, which is YES for Youth with the number 4. So we tell youth, get to know yourself first, identify yourself and your skills and potentials, and then step by step taking them through CV preparation, both through a document and through this video that we've created. And what you see here is what we have on our smartphone, the YES for Youth smartphone app. We have animations where young people are guided through the world of work by other young people so they can understand what to expect in the workplace, why it's so important to have a good fit in terms of yourself and the job that you go for. But this center slides will give you an idea of the style of the content that we're developing. It's telenovela style, where young people can learn and get guidance through storytelling, rather than trying to get them to work through PDFs or complex sites. They work through the learnings, through the stories of other young people. And peer learning can be incredibly inspirational and a powerful mover for young people. This picture that you see here is the first step in building your profile. It's another app on the that is zero rated, where we give young people nudges to think about reflections. We survey them, and the entire idea behind our behavioral shift program is to build confidence for people to access the workplace, and once they're in, stress and socio-emotional management. I think we underestimate the anxiety and psychological sort of breakdown of not having the dignity of a job. And you almost have to build that up in order to prepare young people for the technical parts of job search. We also get them to think about personal financial management. So when they start to get those jobs, they understand about saving, communication and interpersonal skills, so that they really nail it at the interview, at the job interview, and just give them tools to plan for the next step, given that JPAL work on how important action plans are in the creation of an opportunity for yourself. And these are just some pictures to show our youth interacting on their phones. It really, like I said, 6.3 million learning minutes. You know, I hope that we are applying some of the best practice that we've seen in this Estonian case with our YES youth across the country. And what is fantastic about these digital platforms, not just in terms of career search, but in terms of just generally, is the speed at which you can do things. So when COVID hit and lockdown hit, we wanted to be able to give our 40,000 youth, you know, immediate tools to understand how to manage and deal with COVID and the emotional stress. So within a week, we had created and uploaded these modules with yoga practices on breathing and mindfulness, and COVID management, a COVID management module on becoming a COVID warrior and how to beat COVID. And we got this up onto the platform really quickly. So what these digital methodologies give you is also an incredible speed of response, a flexibility and agility. And this is how young people behave. They're digitally native. If they have the access, they're very quick to pick up on this. And so, of course, as a provider of services, you've got to show real competency in being able to deliver that agility. And I think this is what we see in Estonia across sectors, is an incredible agility to deal with things as they arise. So today, if you go to Estonia and you land, you immediately get a message on your phone that gives you the option of taking a test as soon as you get to the airport, a COVID test, or going into 2 weeks of quarantine. If you select the COVID test, you're isolated for that night. By the next morning, you are given your COVID test results, and you can then move into the country freely. So rather than cutting off the entire country from visitors coming in, which bring with them important investment dollars, important IP for the country, they've created a system to very quickly continue with people coming into the country, but in a safe way. And I think this is the power of learning from the Estonian example, is how do we recover our economy and give youth a chance by harnessing speed and agility through digital. Thank you.